So yesterday we have discussed about put, post, patch, get and delete. Today we are going to focus on two more methods. One is head and another one is options. These two methods are usually come into the priority second level. That means those methods are not being used very generic wise, right? We don't You don't see those kind of methods in all of your API projects. Rather, they use those methods for fetching some information, getting some information about the endpoint rather than performing any particular action with it. Why I use the term action? Because yesterday in our previous session we have discussed like get, post, put, patch, delete. Those are kind of performing some actions, right? But here we are rather trying to fetch some information rather than doing any action, right? And in this category there are two methods, head and options. Head method is basically pretty much exactly same as get method. There is only one difference happens over here. Okay, what happens when we make a request from client to request, a client to server, server sends some response to us, right? And if you remember, server sends response in some format, right? And yesterday we have discussed like there are formats like XML and JSON, right? So when we get that response, we get the output in that format and we term it as response body. Okay, again I'm repeating the statement. So whenever we get response from server, right, in the format of JSON or XML, we term it as response body. So usually when the client get the response from the server, it expects a response body for a get method. Why response body for a get method? For example, when you try to fetch some information, if we go back to our example which we have used yesterday, if we try to fetch some information, for example, I try to fetch some information about Michael, then definitely Michael's name, father's name, address and phone number, all four things will be provided to me. All those four things will be generated in a format of XML or JSON, and we term it as response body. Similarly, in get method, whenever you make a request, it fetches the information and provided it to you, and we term it as response body. But in head method, what will happen? It will do the exact same thing as get method. You make a request to fetch some information. It will provide you the information about your request. But here it will not give you the response body. Okay, it will just tell you that, okay, whatever resources you are asking me, that is present and it is available. But what is the information, it cannot give you. So now what does that mean? If I ask that, okay, can you give me the data about Michael? Server will say, yes, I can give you the data about Michael. But what's the data? It will not provide. Okay, it will only, if you can only get the information or data by using get method. So now the question is, then why I need a head method, right? Because get method is doing everything for me. Head method is just letting me know that, okay, this resource is present, right? Basically the availability and status of the resource, but it will not download the entire resource, right? So why I will use head method? So let me give you a small example. What happens, let you have a get method which will give you a return some responses which is of more than 8,000 to 10,000 lines. Okay, it happens in real time. Okay, in real time when we try to fetch some information, sometime we get a JSON which is around of more than 1,000 lines. JSON is nothing but the format in which we get the response from the server. So now sometime it is of 8,000, 10,000 lines. So when we try to make a request or something, what happens to fetch those information? Sometime it consume too much of time to download that amount of resource. And once the download is completed, we came to know that whatever data we got, that is not correct. We supposed to make some another request. This is one example. In this case, what is happening? You are wasting your time in downloading the resources, right? Because you are not sure that whatever the entire resource that are going to get downloaded and provided to you is correct or not. So what it will do, it will waste time to search around the entire server and then download the resource. You check the resource, then only you come to know, okay, this resource is not usually good for me. Before that, we sometime what they do, they try to hit a head method and get an idea that okay, is the resource is correct or availability is there. If they say okay, availability is there, resource is there, then only we proceed with the get method. Now the question is, do we need this kind of scenario in testing? Barely yes. Barely yes means we mostly don't use head much. Okay, frankly speaking, in at least in API testing, you will barely use it. But in interview, they ask this one. Okay, but in real time, we don't use head method. We are using get method, and get method is working very nice. We don't even automate this head method most of the time. Very barely we use where we have like 10 to 12 get methods to call, and before that we just want to make sure okay, resource is present or not. For example, I have 4 or 5 get methods to get some information about Michael, get some information about Michael in the year 2001, in the year 2002, in the year 2003. So there are a lot of API calls I need to make, right? To get information about Michael on multiple formats, multiple years. In that case, we feel like, okay, let's call a head method and see that data for Michael is present or not. If data for Michael is present, then I will go and request for data of 2001. Again, I will go and request for data of 2002. So it's kind of a prior check, but most of the time it is not being used during testing or automation. But it's good to know because in interview they are going to ask this. So what is the takeaway? Head is similar to get, but it will not download the resource or it will not give you the response body. Simple. Second thing is options. Options is again a informational kind of thing. Okay, now what this option will do, now yesterday example we have seen that we are talking about Michael. The definition is usually used to retrieve the HTTP methods that the server supports for a specific URL. Theoretically this is the statement, but what it really does, I will show you an example of it when we start working on the Postman. I will show you those examples in real time, like how we make use of options sometime. Options is little bit more used as compared to head, I can see that. Okay, but still not kind of priority second only. We don't prefer those head and options much. What these options do, let me give you an example. You are talking about Michael. Okay, you know that there are some information about Michael and there are some API about Michael, but you don't know that can I update Michael's information? Do I have the privilege to delete my Michael information? That means you are trying to figure out that what type of actions you can take on Michael's data. Again, I'm saying what kind of actions you can take on Michael's data. That means what kind of action means what kind of HTTP methods, because actions are somehow converted into HTTP methods, right? Yesterday we have seen in the definition. So when you try to figure out that, okay, what are the actions or HTTP methods so I can do with Michael's data, at that point of time, you will need options. That means you are asking to the server that, can you tell me what I can do with with Michael's data? Server will tell that, okay, you can edit Michael's data, you can delete Michael's data, but you cannot create Michael's data. That means if you hit options with Michael, it will return put, comma, patch, comma, delete. Why? Because your server is allowing you 3 things, correct? Your update, delete, and definitely an update to put and patch both and delete. So that's how we are able to figure out that what are the HTTP methods supported for this specific URL, or here, for example, for this specific Michael's data. In our example, we have seen that for Michael's data, all the things are present: get, post, put, patch, and delete. All 5 things are present. So what options will return if I hit a request to server with options HTTP method asking Michael's data? It will return get, post, put, patch, delete, because all 5 actions are possible with Michael's data. So this is basically will provide you a bird eye overview, like what are the methods you can get. For an example, this is an example of options. Okay, example will return you response like this. Can you see here? Allow, get, post, head, options. So that means your server will allow only this 4 type of HTTP methods, or in layman term, these 4 actions can be performed on the resource. right? So if you don't have anything, means if you cannot perform any of the actions, then it will return zero, means any nothing, it will be mentioned over there. And where you need to see, you need to see in the fifth option, allow, right? In the allow button, it will show you that what are the HTTP methods or actions that are allowed on that particular resource. This is just an example I have shown you, right? How usually it looks when we do it, or try to perform the same using Postman. You will get a more realistic picture, like, okay, this is how it usually